out. But other than that,
Cool. So I feel like there's two ways that we can do this. And I know there's some folks, there's a mix of folks on the line, some folks that have Derby knowledge that could probably like jump right into this Jeopardy game and just ask general questions. And then we have some folks that are newer to Derby. And I don't know if it's helpful to take like the first 5 minutes for the newer folks and actually pull up like the track and actually give like a 101 of like how roller derby is played and then kind of jump into the rules. But I wanted to get a sense from all of you if that sounds right and fair. I saw a thumbs up. Okay.
yep, a few thumbs up. Yeah,
So
I think that's the right approach.
okay, I'm gonna pull up, or Shakes, you could pull it up to the little the nerds thing. Hold on.
Nerds, I love nerds.
I'm so glad you posted that because I forgot that it
Here,
existed.
I put that in the chat if you want to pull it up. What I love about it is the it shows the engagement zone. That's my favorite thing.
So is this
Uh,
the Derby one? It is. Okay. I'm gonna move this to my other monitor. Shakes, when we go stay in our house and the Zerks Shakes estate, as I'm calling it, I'm literally bringing like 3 monitors with me so I can work. So I hope you're ready.
oh no, you gotta work that whole weekend.
At
Some of
least
it
on
at least.
Thursday.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you
Oh,
see
right, right, right.
like a monitor, it's totally fine.
I've seen those little attachments that you can just like put them on your laptop and then you get, multi-screen. Yay, there it is.
So
Woohoo.
everyone sees this cute track, right? It's so cute. All right. So for folks that are new, the basics of roller derby are that the team who scores the most points wins at the end of the game. So we have roller derbies played in 60 minutes, two 30-minute halves, and each one of those halves is broken into increments called jams. Jams are like rounds that we play in that can be anywhere from like 2 seconds to 2 minutes, depending on what's happening. Each jam has up to 10 people who are out on the track, five skaters for each team. Each one of those skaters has a different job, and I can explain what their jobs are. So if we look at our little schematic here, all these folks with stripes are officials. The skater right here with the stars, these are called jammers, and these are the skaters that score the points. And basically how they do that is they are trying to fight through this little, oh my God, they even move, this little blob of people come around the track, and once they end up back here again on their second pass, every time they pass one of these yellow skaters, they earn a point. So right now, this person just earned 4 points. The problem for the jammers becomes that all these people in front of them on the opposing team are trying to stop them from getting through. So let's say I'm a jammer and I'm right here. When I come here, skaters 2 and 3 are going to bunch together and try to make what we call a wall so I can't get through. So basically, it's a kind of a fight between these two skaters to try to kind of find a way around and find a way through all these people to get through. There are a lot more rules than that. The other thing I'll say is that let's say I'm this purple jammer and boop, 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 I fight my way out. I'm the first person to get out. And this yellow jammer, she's stuck back here. The first jammer to get out like this, who passes all the other people legally, is something called lead jammer. And the advantage of lead jammer is I can end the jam anytime before that 2-minute increment is over. So let's say I'm coming around, I get through again, I scored more points, I'm amazing, and I get out here. Finally, this jammer who's been stuck gets out right behind me, and she's coming after me. What I can do is once I come up here, really at any time, she's right behind me, she's very fast. If I come up here and I pass all these people, I can do something that's called calling off the jam. And you'll see jammers make this motion with their hands. And this basically, when you're a lead jammer, you have the power to end the jam at any time. And it's a defensive move because if I stop the jam, this skater back here can't get up here and score points. So trying to get out of the pack, which is what this blob of blockers is called the pack. Trying to get out of the pack first is really advantageous because it gives you like that superpower where you can call off the jam. So basically, we just do this over and over again. In an average half of roller derby, there's anywhere I'd say between 20 to 25 jams on average, depending how much long they are. So back in a game, this little setup that you see right here, we'll literally do this 50 times, which is kind of mind-blowing to think about, but
It
that's
is.
right. It's mind-blowing to think
Yeah.
about that. That is like the 5-minute explanation to how roller derby is played. There are a lot of rules about how we hit, where we hit, how far away we can be from each other. But for like right now, that's probably a good foundation. Questions about that? Probably lots.
And y'all,
Any
this is definitely like your space. So you have people here that have played the game. So ask away if you need anything at all. That's what we're here to do. Make sure you guys get out what you need. And we're monitoring the chat too. So if you prefer to type it out, that's cool too.
I'll give folks a minute in case they're typing, but
I don't know if you want to do the engagement zone.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I love this. So there are some rules about how far away we can be from each other. And one common question is the beginning is like, well, if this yellow jammer is up here, why doesn't this blocker just like run up and like hit her out, basically? And what happens is I'll put these jammers kind of out of play up here. These blocker friends right here, the purple and yellow, all together, they make up something called the pack. The pack is the largest group of blockers that are kind of together. We have to always be, generally speaking, no more than 10 feet away from another skater. So this skater is here. If she comes all the way up here, these little hash marks that you see, the grays, are 10 feet. She's more than 10 feet from this skater, which means she's out of play. She can't block anybody, and she has to kind of come back and return to play. The only time this is different is, let's say, she would have 20 feet. I was kind of wrong. Let's say this skater right here comes all the way up here, and this skater is more than 10 feet away from skater number 2. This skater is now out of play. If I am the skater that is the closest to the front or the back, I can be 20 feet away from this skater. So I could come up to here. But that's basically why we don't chase this person all the way around, is that we have to be so many feet away from our friends at all times. So for example, this pivot couldn't come all the way back here to catch. She's coming around. This pivot couldn't catch this jammer back here because she's more than 20 feet away from her friends, or more than 20 feet away from another skater. It's something, this pack definition stuff is something it takes a long time to learn, but as you're learning, one of the basic rules is just like looking around and being like, am I 10 feet from someone? Because if not, I'm probably not where I should be.
Yeah. Or you can yell at me like my coach used to do, be like, where are you on the track? Oh, I'm like 30 feet ahead of everybody.
The referees will warn you. They'll look at you and be like, out of play, pack is here, which are words that probably don't make total sense to everybody right now. But referees, who are these kind humans right here, will kind of tell you what to do. These are called OPRs. They're outside pack refs. These are called inside pack refs. And these ones with the little stars, their sole job is to watch the jammer. So this ref is sort of married to this jammer, and this ref is watching this jammer. And what they're watching for a lot of things, but the primary thing they're watching for is how many points that person is earning. They're counting every time they pass those opposing players and earn points.
Yeah, and I would say, like, as an added tip, as a jammer, count your own points. Because not because they get it wrong, but because you should be counting your points. But also just in case. Hey, that was another point.
Yeah. I think the last thing I can say here, and maybe we can play some Jeopardy, is we also have penalties in roller derby. So you will hear the way that penalties are called is color number penalties. So if you're me, it'll be like black 30, direction of gameplay. It's my favorite penalty. I'm so good at getting it. It's friggin' amazing. And what we do is, hypothetically, maybe over in this corner, there's a penalty box. Let's say this is me. I'm the pivot. No, let's make this me. I'm the pivot. I have to exit the track, not hit that ref like I just did. I have to weave around the refs like this very safely and come sit my ass in this penalty box for 30 seconds. And then I would be released, but have to not hit the ref like I just did, come back here. But that is Derby
Yeah,
in
but
a
that's a really good point, right? Like, there are rules surrounding how you can re-enter the track after you coming back from a penalty. There are also rules in terms of how you need to exit the track once a penalty has been assessed on you as well, right? Um, in the safest way possible, I guess is a short version of that.
yeah,
Quickly, immediately, and safely.
thankfully. Yeah, like if this would have been really been me, I really would have bonked this ref. I can get ejected for that. My little circle moving was not very good. Um, Before we do like the Jeopardy game, does anyone have questions about this or want me to like use this board to make a scenario that you have questions about or questions about pack definition,
I
penalty?
have a question that I'm going to put in the chat.
Yeah. Okay.
Heard.
Heard. I really love that you can make these crash into each other, then they move. Look at this. It's super.
Yeah, and you can change the colors too, like on the top right. I don't know how to always use it the best, but there's like the three little dots on the top right. And then it gives you some more options. See, like the team is yellow and purple there. You could change the colors if you want. If you want to be like, let's get our colors in there.
I
Yeah,
think we get
see?
our colors in here. This is Gold Coast colors. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna wait for the chat question to come.
All right,
Uh,
I just put it in the chat.
yeah.
Yep.
Are there any non-skating positions open to like referees, volunteers? Yes, there are.
Great question.
Um, I love that you use the phrase non-skating because we call them non-skating officials or we call them NSOs for short. So these are folks who have game day responsibilities where they might sit in the penalty box and track your penalties. They might do something called lineups where for every group of skaters that go out, they write down who is going out. There's someone that gets to yell 5 seconds and blow a whistle, but it's super fun. Highly recommend it. If you like yelling, perfect job for you. There's
Yeah,
folks,
it does sound fun.
it is really fun. And you get to be right in the middle of the track, so you get to see everything. There's folks who keep stats. So yes, there are those types of like NSO positions. And then there's
Oh, great.
also your point, like general volunteers. So for example, Miami is kindly hosting, we're having a scrimmage on the April 27th. And like a whole lot of humans are needed to like lay a track down, like a plastic track, right? So those types of volunteers are always needed as well. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there's stuff to do. That I think that's fair to say. There's stuff to do.
Help is always needed.
Help
Always.
always needed. And you mentioned social media, like absolutely. People who have like graphic design skills, we appreciate you. People that are good at the TikToks. I'm 40, I'm not good at that. You're right, like I don't know what's going on.
I don't even know where to begin, to be honest. I like troll TikTok, but I don't like create.
I don't want to participate in TikTok, right? Because I am old. Um, cool. Any other scenarios that anyone wants to do on this board before we hop into a little bit of a game?
I'm thinking maybe like if we have time to kind of go through maybe some of the sticky questions on the test, or if you want to do that maybe another session like after that everybody's taken it, we can do it then too.
Yeah.
They'll probably come up quite a bit.
Did anyone take the test yet and have questions about anything before? Okay.
Chica is currently taking the test.
It's like, eh.
Quads, did anything come up that you were like,
Okay, while we're on the topic, I guess. So there was like one thing. So I forgot where it was worded, and I don't have the article in front of me, but I think there was a question regarding, I forgot the actual scenario, but the options were insubordination, and I want to say misconduct was like the second one. And so originally I had put misconduct because the overall penalty is misconduct with a like subtext of insubordination. Um,
Oh, I think I found the question.
Yeah, I think I know
yeah,
which one you're talking
so
about.
it's not misconduct, it's
You want me to read it?
on yes, please.
Okay. If a skater does not exit the track quickly enough after being awarded a penalty, they can be given an additional penalty that will cause them to sit for an extra 30 seconds. That penalty is called misconduct, false start, official review, insubordination.
Right. So I think in 2019 is when I read that they changed the rules or like the call of the penalty for it to be overall misconduct with the subtext of insubordination, or either or was okay to like say.
That
So that
sounds
would be like the only thing that like tripped me up in the question.
that sounds right to me, and I can change that so either answer is correct. Because I think right now it's insubordination is what's on there. But I definitely trust that they probably made that more general because the result is still the same.
Yeah,
Right?
it
It's
is.
like you did something, you were too slow or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's kind of irrelevant whether it's misconduct or insubordination. I think they changed the hand motion for insubordination
They
too.
did. They did. It's all labeled one, which is misconduct. And if you look at the Excel, like there's like an Excel like stats book for officials, and on the NSO side as well, it's the code is for misconduct.
Okay, I'll
And
change it
there's
on.
like a little parentheses that says insubordination. Like they categorized it as two now.
Cool.
Yeah. So it
I'll
seems
make
like
both.
they streamlined and like made some
Correct.
penalties under the umbrella. Like it's still the same umbrella of misconduct, but insubordination is like the specific thing.
Yeah. That's
But
the only one that
Insubordination, the answer.
yeah.
Chica.
because I used to love this was one of my favorite hand signals, and when they got rid of it, I was like, oh, because when you saw this, you were like, somebody's in trouble.
Bow bow.
Bow bow.
Well, this one, that one's in major trouble. Oh yeah, Caesar.
Cool.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question. I can change it on the test to make both answers correct.
I'm trying to think of like I
Thanks,
took it a little
Rachel.
bit ago, so I'm trying to remember what else was there. Like was like a sticky point. I know Dren, you had brought up a couple things, not to put you on the spot, but I remember you're like there was a couple of questions there.
Yeah, no, the jammer being part of the pack, I should have known that one, and I totally didn't.
It's a hard question though. Like it's not something that you think about.
Free agent.
Yeah. It's not something that you think about, especially if you're not jamming. The only time that they would become part of the pack is if there was a star pass, right? Because now they're a blocker. But that's a good question, yeah.
All right.
And that's why, let's say there's a incomplete star pass and that blocker or that pivot takes off with the star, you'll see them get called for out of plays. And you'll see them get called that they have to return to the pack. It's because they actually are still a blocker, and them being 40 feet away and going around the track will result in a penalty because I've done that, and that's how I know.
So that might be a good scenario to like review real quick is the Star Pass. And it came up quite a bit during this Y'all Stars tournament. Two things I saw quite a bit of Power Jams and Star Passes, like a lot. But what was different that I was just like, okay, that's the second time I've seen that happen, is the Star Pass would happen and the pivot that has now become the blocker, right? Because like stays as a blocker. Ellie, I'm gonna mute you for a second because I'm getting some feedback, okay? So the pivot that has now become the jammer decides to stay as a block, and then use the opportunity that's created in that chaos to now like to then become the jammer, which I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, there's nothing stopping a jammer from blocking. And because they're not part of the pack, they can kind of do whatever they want. They can be wherever they want. I used to play with someone in Philly, like if she was really stuck, she would block with us for a minute, even without passing the star. And she'd be like, well, I'm here. And like use that as a time to chill out. Yeah. But to the question of people are probably like, what is a star pass if you're new? So got a little scenario right here. So let's say this red jammer has escaped the pack. She got through all these black blockers, but this black jammer back here they've been stuck for a while and they're pushing on this wall and this wall is really strong. This jammer has maybe lapped them twice at this point. This person with the stripe is called the pivot. And the kind of the superpower that the pivot has is that the pivot can become the jammer. And what would happen is this skater can take their helmet cover off, the jammer, and pass it to boop, this person. I don't know how to do that with the icons, but basically, now this person, let's say they switch places. This person has the star. They can escape and kind of go through the path. There's some rules about how we pass that star. So let's say I'm the jammer and Shakes is the pivot. For me to give that hat to Shakes, I have to be standing upright. I need to be in bounds, or kind of the two basic things, as does Shakes. So Shakes is on the floor, or Shakes has a foot out of bound. I cannot give them that star. If they take that star and kind of run off, they're like, woohoo, I'm the jammer. The ref is going to look at them and kind of be like, you are not the jammer, is often what they say. I don't think they're actually have to say that. It's more of a courtesy. The other thing that is true about star passes is, let's say I'm trying to get the star to Shakes and there's all kerfuffle and I drop the star on the ground, which happens like more than you would think, right? Shakes cannot pick up that star off the ground and like run away and be like, haha, I'm the jammer. I have to be the last person to touch that hat before it is given to the pivot. Shakes can pick it up, hand it back to me, then I hand it back to Shakes, which looks silly, but it's what you have to do. But the way that we used to teach this to juniors is that the jammer is the one who like powers up the star. So I have to power it up to basically give it to Shakes. And if anything, if it gets knocked to the floor, it like loses its power. And I feel like that's a helpful analogy for grownups too. But yeah, that's the 30-second synopsis.
Yeah. And you definitely cannot throw the star like I did to Vix in one game. Here.
It's real fun to throw it.
That is a desperation move, and it did not work.
I want this to be over. I don't care, right? But that is a star pass. But you use that again if you're really, really stuck, the other person is lapping you. You don't feel like you can get out. They can kind of come in and like rescue you essentially.
Yeah, the other thing I would just add to that is that if you are lead jammer, you do not want to pass the star because you will lose your lead jammer status if you pass that star.
That's right.
So if you are lead, you keep it. You use the star pass if you're not lead.
Another way you can lose your lead jammer status is if you commit a penalty and you go to the box. So let's say this red jammer, their lead, they're super excited, but oh, they cut the track. They're going to go sit in the box and think about what they did. Now this jammer is all by themselves, and this is called a power jam. Power jams last about 30 seconds. So penalties are 30 seconds. And that time starts when your butt kind of hits the chair in the penalty box. So you want to get to the penalty box fast. I'm coming around on a power jam. These red skaters, their whole goal right now is to play defense against me. These black skaters, their whole goal is to kind of like mess up this wall or play offense for me. So if I'm coming around, these black skaters maybe might come back here and kind of form behind these red folks. I knocked everybody out of the way. Oops, sorry, ref. And as I'm coming to the pack, this won't happen every time, but this is like a common scenario, is as I'm coming up to the pack, these black skaters are going to come up and like knock maybe these two people out of the way to help make a path for me to get through. And then we do that for 30 seconds. It doesn't always work that smoothly, but
when it does, it's so sweet. Perfect. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It used to be that you can get an extra point on power jams, but that is no longer the case. That was my favorite.
It is not the case. You do get points for people in the box, for blockers in the box, though. So if I was coming through here and let's say the red pivot was in the box as well, as soon as I pass, the rearmost red skater, as soon as I pass blocker number 3, I've gotten number 3's point and I've gotten the pivot's point. So I earned 2 points by passing them, which is pretty dope. But also motivation to not be in the box, right? Because you're a point when you're in the box. Any other questions or scenarios that folks like want to act out with the little board? So it sounds to me like most people on here did take the rules test already. Does that sound right?
Or finishing it now.
So not when I'm on the track, when you're doing the bridging makes sense. But when I'm taking the test and you're asking me about bridging, I could not visualize it at all. And no matter what, I didn't even, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get this answer wrong because I'm very visual. I couldn't see it. So can we go over that one?
Yeah.
Do you want me to read one of the questions?
Yeah, it is the question.
I actually just stopped at one about the engagement zone.
So what I can also do, Hell, is I'll share the link for the nerds, the track, kind of so like if you go into the test, you can use this as a way to visualize it for yourself too.
Awesome.
I will post that, yes.
I can read the one.
Go for it.
It just happened. I happened to stop right at an engagement one.
That's the one. That's the one that I was like, you know what? No matter how many times they take this test, I'm never gonna visualize it.
So the blue team is blocking the green jammer at the very front of the pack. I'll let you set up. So the blue team is blocking the green jammer at the very front of the pack. As the green jammer pushes forward, 2 blue blockers eventually drop off the bridge.
Okay, so all 4 of them are together. Okay. So
leaving 1 final blocker to defend against the jammer at the front of the pack.
So she's pushing here, push, 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 push. Blocker number 1's gonna drop. They're about 10 feet. Now she's pushing on these 3. Push, 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 push. Blocker number 2 is gonna drop off. And now she's pushing on these 2 up here. So everyone's 10 feet apart. Can you read the last part of the question again?
As the green jammer pushes forward, 2 blue blockers eventually drop off the bridge, leaving 1 final blue blocker to defend against the jammer at the front of the pack. How much distance does the final blocker have before they are out of play?
Good question. So she's pushing, 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 pushing. She can push, I like that it turns yellow, to about here.
So Hell, how many feet does the last blocker have?
I see Ellie with his hand up.
Can you see? I had it selected prior. I don't know if you could read that.
I can't read it.
I had it selected prior.
20?
20. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's 20 in the front and also 20 in the back. So if you were the furthest person to the front and the furthest person to the back, you get that 20 feet instead of 10. The same would be true too is let's say these 2 blockers were a wall and they decided they wanted to stay together. They could stay together for 20 feet. Like this would be legal as well. What might happen here is one of them might be like, oh shit, I have to drop back here. And then this person can continue. Would be what would happen. But yeah, 20 feet in the front and 20 feet in the back.
That makes, I never even considered that. Like the 2 people can be like, oh, yeah. I mean, I see it. It's just, I see it happen.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, when we were when I played for Philly, we were very adamant that we never sent one person 20 feet by themselves. It was more advantageous to send 2 people for 20 feet. Yeah. Because when you're by yourself, you're just like, oh man.
Unless you're really good on your own,
Apex, and you're like, what is life? What is life? what decisions did I make that landed me here? Is very traumatizing.
All by myself.
Jammers are very fast and good at things. Anything else from either from the quiz or just life that you want us to act out on the board? Because I hear your point, Hal, that like it is hard to visualize some of it until it's like you see it in front of you.
I'm laughing at one of the answers. No one can pick up the star. There is no jammer.
There's no jammer ever.
They're just gone.
Gone.
All right, I'm down to play some Jeopardy if you want to do some of that, and then we can come back to this if something else comes up.
Let me find Jeopardy. Hold on 1 minute, please. I'm gonna move. Can y'all see Jeopardy?
We can see it. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So I didn't make teams. I just figured that we can just.
Oh, we could do it together. All right, cool.
Unless we want to make teams, but I don't know.
I mean, I'm always down for competition, but we don't have to make it that way.
Do you want to just go round robin and folks can pick?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I'm competitive too, but I guess I'm NC, so I can be competitive.
Quads, you pick one.
Pick one.
Okay.
And then you can pick the next person that goes. How's that?
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go Misk for 500. Yeah, finish your penalty and are re-entering the track. Where do you need to re-enter? Can I just answer it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Behind the pack.
Behind? Can you be more specific than that?
How, like, what do you mean? Like, it was a rule, like, it was a question in the rules test. I got it right. I can't think of, like, the actual answer. It was behind.
Right. Like, the safe answer is re-enter behind everybody. Technically, you can cut one of your own players, which I don't recommend for new people because you're gonna like your brain's gonna be like mashed potatoes. But know that you can cut one of your own people. But
I just got to that question.
You're just getting all the questions.
Literally, as I scroll, it says you are finished serving your penalty and are re-entering the track. How do you re-enter legally?
Okay, tell me the option.
You can re-enter the track anywhere. You must re-enter behind the opposing jammer. You must re-enter at the back of the pack. You may re-enter in front of one of your teammates if you wish, and you must re-enter at the front of the pack.
That one.
So
back of the pack.
No, not the front of the pack. The back of
the back of the pack.
You must re-enter at the back of the pack. You may re-enter in front of one of your teammates if you wish.
Yes,
correct.
That's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one I said.
How funny the timing for my testing.
So I got $500. Hell yeah. All right, who's next?
Go ahead, you pick.
Okay, hold on. Oh my God. Who do I pick?
Okay, Sabrina says she's in a public place so she can listen but can't talk, but she can use the chat.
I'm gonna choose Malone.
Malone. All right, let's go.
Why did I feel it in my bones, Quads? I knew it. I knew it. All right. Let's do procedural for. Let's do 3.
All right.
Okay.
A blocker is in a tripod near the line. As the jammer pushes the tripod, one of the blocker's feet rolls out of bounds. The blocker continues to block. What penalty should they earn? Ooh, okay. So I think that's one of the questions that I kept messing up on all day today. I was very upset about it. So I'm not fully sure. I will be very honest.
Does anyone else have thoughts?
Yeah. Phone a friend, Malone.
Phone a friend.
Okay. Edley, I know you can help me out here.
Ellie, you gotta unmute. Ellie, you're still on mute. Oh. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Hello?
sir. Yes.
All right.
Perfect.
Yes. Sorry. Yes. All right. I was trying to read it too. As a matter of fact, a blocker is in a tripod. Hey, I'm on the phone. A blocker is in a tripod near the line. As the jammer pushes the tripod, one of the blocker's feet rolls out of bounds. The blocker continues to block.
With their
What
foot. Yeah.
What penalty?
if they continue to block? That, from what I remember, is known as an out of bounds penalty. I don't even think they have that anymore, to be honest. It's blocking out of bounds. There we go. Yes, blocking out of bounds.
Yeah.
I remember. Does that even exist anymore?
Wouldn't it be a cut track?
So if I was in front of you, I wouldn't be cutting you.
Oh,
We all here playing games like we know what we're talking about, Quads.
I
Yes.
guess.
So remember,
I'm graphing as if I know what I'm doing.
it's only cutting if, let's say, the blocker was in. If the blocker is inbounds and they hit you out and you don't go behind the blocker, that's known as a cut track.
Correct.
But if the blocker is out of bounds and they block you while you're still inbounds, that's a penalty on the outside blocker as a block out of bounds penalty.
Ellie, what does that look like?
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, let me look at this. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to imagine.
No, look, what is the hand, like, what is the signage for that? I told you that was a cut track. I was just making cut track signage.
Blocking out of bounds, from what I remember, is, hold on, let me see if I can put my phone here so you can see.
I don't remember.
Blocking out of bounds is this.
Yeah.
No, wait, that's a low block. Wait.
Oh.
Block. I'm on the phone. I'm on the phone. Out of bounds. Wow.
I don't remember either, to be honest.
We haven't called. I don't make that. Didn't I say I'm on the phone?
I didn't even know that was a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
That used to be called. That was a penalty, but not many people. I haven't seen anyone do that in a while, to be honest.
Yeah.
Not even before COVID. I haven't seen that move since before COVID, to be honest.
Yeah, it's still a penalty. So I don't. Can you guys see the track right here? Like,
yes.
This pivot right now, if I'm pushing and they continue to block and they're like have a foot out of bounds, they should get the blocking out of bounds. The other way you get a blocking out of bounds is, let's say I hit this person off and I'm out here and I'm like in your shit in the ref lane. That also is blocking out of bounds.
I did that one time.
Yeah.
That was so bad.
So I was correct. I was correct then, right, Tara? Correct?
Yeah. Like the general rule for everyone on here is, if you were out of bounds, do not block people. Like, that is the thing we need to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that includes, like, if, let's say, like, you hit a jammer out and you go out with them, you cannot touch them in that ref lane, or if you're in the infield, like, you have to let them re-enter. You cannot make contact with them. So if you were out of bounds, no touchy, no touch anyone. You don't touch refs. You don't I guess you could touch your friends. I don't know why you would in the ref lane. But that is the moral story. We don't touch people in the ref lane.
Yeah, that would be a
follow up.
Yeah.
Follow up to that. If we're knocked out of bounds, re-entering the track, right? Do we just go back in where we were? Do we have to go in behind the pack?
Excellent question, Malone.
Excellent question. So let's pull up this little diagram again. Let's say I'm this spicy pivot right here. And I go boop. Oh, I really wanted to bounce. And I scoot you out. I stay upright and inbounds. You must re-enter behind me. So if I make my way back here, that means you have to come avoid these refs. Whoops, sorry, ref. And re-enter behind me.
Ooh, Zert. Can you also show the friends that are next to you or in front that can also draw back?
So let's say again, I'm the pivot. I hit you off. The rule is you must re-enter behind the person that hit you out, provided they stayed in bounds and upright, and any opposing skaters that were in front of you. So this skater up here was in front of the black pivot or black jammer. And let's say I run back here. Let's say you come in here. So you came in behind the person that hit you out, but you did not come behind the sneaky person that ran back here. It's still going to be a cut track. It's harder to see. And I would say for newer skaters, when in doubt, just go as far back as you feel like you need to go. As you gain more experience, you'll be able to sense that a little bit more. Something I saw at Y'all Stars that was really great was a lot of people were very conscientious of, let's say, this pivot hits me out, but they went out too. I can re-enter in front of them. Provided like their foot went out, two hands went out, whatever the case may be. And this is kind of a sidebar. Like, this is why I never advocate for like big hits on the line, because if I go out too, I'm useless. I didn't prove anything, right? You just get to re-enter in front of me. It didn't serve the purpose that you wanted it to serve. But that's the basis of a cut track is I cannot get hit out and advance my position on the other team, because that's kind of like my penance basically for being hit out of bounds. Good question.
What if someone behind you were to go back? So let's say like the pivot takes a jammer out.
Yeah.
And then one goes back.
You do not have to go behind number one. And people will pull this shit though. I pull this shit where let's say I was like really close, where you might look at me and think like, oh, I don't know if they were in front of me or not. I would totally run my ass. Oh, I'm all the way back here.
And I'll be like, shit, I don't know. Skate my ass. We're all behind you because I'm like, I don't know.
And people will especially do that. Let's say this jammer got hit hard enough that like they fell down. It's going to be less likely that they saw where everybody was on the track, unless you're maybe like, they'll probably know if they were the last person. Like if they're strung way up here and they know this is the last person they had to beat, they're going to be pretty sure that there was no one in front of them. But let's say like we're like all up here, right? We're in this little scrummy spot and there's like a tripod here, and number two's kind of here, and number three's kind of here, and someone hits you out and you fall down. You might not remember where two was. Were they a little bit in front? Were they a little bit behind? And if they run back, most people are going to go behind them. It's probably the safest thing to do. That was a long answer to your question, but if they are behind you, you do not need to re-enter behind them, but it can be hard to remember if they were behind you or not.
And yeah, I like what you said there. If you're not safe, guys, just like I always told you, just go behind the pack. It sucks, but do it, because you're gonna be so tired by the time you get hit out. Like he was saying, if you have that good awareness, man, more power to you. But me, I don't even take chances like that. I would rather just go behind the pack, the whole pack, just to be safe.
It is better than going to the box. It is just better. No one's gonna be mad at you for doing that. It'll be quite the opposite, where people will be like, look at the discipline of that person.
Yep.
Excellent. We want to try another Jeopardy question.
It took too long to hit submit. It reset my whole quiz. I literally, we were talking and I'm like, oh, let me hit submit. I hit submit and it just took me to the first page.
I can check on my end to see if it captured it for you. Hang on.
Please check.
Yeah. Malone, your pick.
I'm gonna call on Hell.
All right, Hell. You can choose
I'm
a
here.
category
I
and a number.
just finished dinner. All right. I guess let's go with jammer rules for 100, please.
100.
False.
That is false. Correct.
Why is it false, Hell?
Because, okay, if a jammer's lead and they go to the penalty box, because when you go to the penalty box, you lose your lead.
Right. That's right. And at that point, the other jammer cannot become lead. I feel that's a common question that newer folks have is like, well, what happens if there's no lead jammer? That means you skate for 2 minutes until the jam just runs its natural, beautiful course. Nature heals, and then you start over. Yep. All the more reason to re-enter at the back of the pack, right? If you're unsure.
Yep.
Excellent. Hal, do you want to pick someone to go next?
Shika, you got to do it again.
Who's here? Let's pick on Dread. Did she already go already?
No.
Nope.
All right. Your turn.
Um, hmm. Let's get spicy. Let's do pack definition for 500.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like an SAT question. I'm so sorry.
There are full 8 blockers on the track. 4 of them are at the front of the pack and 4 are in the back. There are 9 feet between the 2 groups of blockers. A blocker from the front of the pack, who is the closest to the group in the back, turns around and runs to the back of the pack to play offense. There's now 12 feet behind the 2 groups. What penalty should be awarded to the player who skated backwards? And that is destruction of the pack.
Man, I used to get this one so much.
Great job. Great job, Dread.
Do y'all want
Thank
to
you.
on the board, or did that make sense to everybody?
Let's do the board. I think visualizing helps.
Okay. All right, let me get my humans organized. Blocker, 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 and then these blockers. So there's 9 feet, so they're like here-ish. We're just gonna eyeball it. Your tripod.
I'm at that question, so if you want me to read it.
Okay, red jammer is here. Black jammer is here. So there's about 9 feet between these blockers. We'll even push them up a little bit further. There's about 9 feet between blocker number 1 right here and blocker number 3 right here. You guys see how that's about 9 feet?
Mhm.
Or make it like that.
Yeah, there you
go. If blocker number 1 sees their jammer is stuck and runs back here like, oh, I'm gonna do some of this. There is now more than 10 feet between these blockers and these blockers. All of us are responsible for keeping the pack definition. So if me running from here to here results in there being no pack, there's more than 10 feet, I have destroyed that. I've single-handedly destroyed the pack because I was the one that was essentially bridging the pack together. It would be the same thing. Like, let's say I was the bridge right here and I got spicy and I ran back here to play offense. Me moving out of this spot, A, destroys the pack, and B, puts all my friends up here out of play too, which is super annoying for them because they're trying to block. So if you were in a position where you're the person that's bridging, you're the person that's holding the pack together, you have a responsibility to kind of stay there until the packs are closer together again. I also used to get this penalty a lot, like in my first year of Derby, and it's a hard one to see, and it just kind of takes some practice.
Yeah, I would always be like, "Why me?"
I didn't do anything. Totally did. We all totally did.
All right, Jen, your choice for the next one.
I feel like this is cheating a little, but Edley.
Oh, let's do it. All right. I will go for.
You better get a 500 at least.
I was actually trying to look for a higher number, like 800, but that's fine. All right.
Do the procedural one at 500.
All right. Oh, okay. Procedural penalties at 500, please.
All right.
All right. A skater leaves the track for a penalty and is skating head on towards a referee.
Perfect.
The skater makes no attempt to avoid the referee and they collide, knocking the referee over. What is the most likely penalty outcome for the skater? Well, even though that has never happened to me, but from what I remembered, that is really up to the head official, from my understanding, and he will determine whether or not if that is a not well, it could be like an expulsion or It could be a not only misconduct, but it's misconduct, but with, like, it's like the extra misconduct. Like you're like, I think out of the game.
Unsportsmanlike conduct.
Yes. Oh, so you see, they will most likely be. There we go. I
Mhm.
said out of expulsion. So yes, if
Yeah.
they hit this because that was kind of reckless, they should know better. Basically,
Yeah.
that's the whole procedure.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's most likely. Yeah, I agree. And Edley's obviously a ref, but and it said that they like, and like the reason why this question is on here is just a reminder that we yield to the refs do not yield to us. They're working, right? And that we carry the responsibility when we're skating through, like with refs. Same thing like in the infield, right? Like if I'm a jammer and I get knocked to the infield and I'm kind of like regrouping myself, I have to make every effort to get out of their way. I've only seen this happen once and the person was expelled. And I think they didn't intentionally do it. They were just in the zone, right? How we get in the zone. Another thing that's similar to this that can get you expelled is, let's say I'm going to the penalty box and I crash into the chairs. And
Yes.
those chairs can like hit the officials that are sitting behind them. Again, up to the ref crew, like what happens there. It could be a misconduct, but more often now, people are getting expelled for that. Every captain's meeting I feel like I've ever been in, this is brought up by the officials. Like, we will toss you if you crash into the chair. So kind of the same flavor. Just a reminder that like we gotta like keep it together.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. I got to start being more strict on that because I remember back in the day, I did used to see a lot of people crash into the chairs when they would get a little frustrated. Again, it's up to the head official, but now that I'm actually trying to get certified for this now. I got to start acting like a certified official because in a real game, they would have expelled all those times that I've seen it, to be honest. So my apologies, ladies. I should have expelled those people from last year. But
Kick your ass out.
It's all good. When you know better, you do better. That's all.
yes, absolutely.
All right, Edley, you get to choose someone else who goes next.
Yeah.
Who here is okay. Was already answered. All right.
So we got Shika, Elise,
You know
Sasha,
what? I haven't heard from
Paige.
Sheikah.
That was very confusing to say my name and then Elise.
That's right, because your name is Elise. I forget about that.
Elise,
Nope.
Shashika, Elise.
There you go.
You could do jammer rules. Let's just go 500. I
All
don't know.
right, love it.
Let's just do it.
Love it.
Oh, hey, it just answered that question. The jammer tries to pass the star to the pivot, but drops the hat on the ground. The panty. What needs to happen next for the star pass to be legal? The jammer has to pick it up and give it to the pivot.
Yep.
What else can also happen?
The other blockers could be evil and block it from me from getting it.
Which is so fun.
I've heard of this. I've never seen it, but I've heard of it. I mean, the pivot could pick it up, give it to the jammer,
Yep,
and
that's
get
it.
it back.
That's it. Yeah. There you go. Two scenarios can happen.
Yeah. As long as the jammer is the last one to touch it. Yeah.
Can you imagine if someone else could pick it up and just like run off with it?
Do you remember when we did that silly scrimmage where there was like the one jam that had no rules, which was super scary, but then we made it cute? And like the first thing I did was snatch the hat off, mush his head, and like ran away.
That's fun.
All right, Shika,
One more.
pick the next person.
Oh, can I answer really quick to Tara really quick about that jammer situation? If the jammer, if it's not visible, that's still correct, right? If you pick up the star, you can't skate with it the whole lap. It has to be visible, correct? It has to be on your head.
It could be so like
Or in your hand.
it could be in your hand. You're not scoring points unless it's on your head. the way that I remember the rule, I feel like back in the day, we were able to ball it up on our hands and like hide it. But I think the rule
Yes.
now is that it must be visible minimum in your hand.
Yes. Because that's what business told me last game. She said it's actually technically supposed to be visible. It used to be holding in the hand, but she got on me on that. And I was like, well, I remember before COVID, it was never a problem as long as you had it in your hand. But now she's saying the rules have changed. And I just want to confirm with you if that is a solid answer. Like, yeah, a solid statement is what I mean. Like,
It is.
On your
Sorry, just to interject here. It is supposed to be that it's supposed to be visible because I also put that one out in the game. It is a new rule.
Okay. Thank you, Quad. So it has to be on your head at all times in order to score a point, not on your hand anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
I will say too, something I recommend to people, I used to pivot a lot, is to take the pivot hat off before putting the jammer star on. Because let's say you go to the box as the jammer and you have the pivot cover on underneath your star. You go in the next jam as the jammer. If you take that hat off, that pivot is underneath it, and then you end up with two pivots on the track. It is a very random thing. Long story short, if you're putting the jammer cover on, I'd like highly recommend taking the pivot cover off first. You can throw it to the side. I would recommend not having both hats on because it can get very confusing if things get weird.
Yeah, that happened to me once. I was a pivot turn jammer, went to the box. And then the next line, there was a fielded pivot. And then we somehow ended up with two pivots. Like, it was crazy. I was just like, what happened?
That's fine. It's like one of the, it's totally random. Like, doesn't happen very often.
But okay. So, but if it does happen, that's a penalty on the person for having two pivots on the track, correct? Okay. That's called illegal procedure.
I think so.
Or delay the game.
I forget what it was called when I watched it or when I saw it. It was a mess. It was just a hot mess is what it was. I can't even yeah.
Okay, I'll figure it out. Okay. I'm glad you told me that. I'll figure if it's a delay of game or a legal procedure. It must be one of those two.
It's the only thing I can think of. But that's why like I tell people now, like, dump that pivot stripe. And your hat will fit better too. Like, you won't have to worry about it falling off. But random things.
Awesome.
I don't remember whose turn it is.
I think it was Sheikah.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, go, Elise, go.
I mean, that's fresh meat, Elise.
Yeah, right. She's not fresh meat anymore.
There's another Elise in here, at least.
There is another Elise.
yeah.
Elise with a Y.
I'm so
there's another
sorry.
Elise.
I'm Sheikah now, Edley.
All right. Okay, gonna go for something hopefully easy. Let's do I guess miscellaneous for 100.
Cool. Oh, this is a good one.
Okay, how long are penalties? 30 seconds?
You just got instant right.
What?
You got it right. That's amazing. Back in the day,
Yay!
they were 60 seconds. That shit was crazy.
That is
Well, then that would be like half of an entire
Yeah.
round.
You could have like jams swing by like 20 points if a jammer was in the box. And it was boring and it was ridiculous. And when we changed that rule, I was very excited. I don't know if the same way. I was very excited. And when we got rid of markers, that was cool too. Okay.
All right. Elise, pick someone.
All right, I'm sorry to do this. I'm gonna go with Sasha. Hopefully she's feeling okay.
I'm good enough to answer question. Let's do this.
Okay.
Pack definition for 100.
Woohoo.
Love it.
Oh.
When you are a blocker in the pack, approximately is defined as not more than something feet. It's measured from the hips. What the fuck in front of or behind the nearest packs? Man, I don't know.
How far away what's the maximum distance you can be away from another person?
Not 10 feet. I actually remember watching like a YouTube video that had this. 10 feet? I don't know.
10 feet.
Not 10 feet, no.
You're correct.
Yeah?
Correct.
Okay.
So if we look
Wow.
at like red blockers right now that are strung out, these hash marks are 10 feet apart. So all of them are in play right now. They're 10 feet away from each other. Yeah. We don't want to be strung out like this, but it does happen. So yes, 10 feet is correct.
Ooh.
All right, let's pick another.
Okay. I think Sasha, your pick.
Hold on. Sabrina.
All right.
Oh, Sabrina might not be able to come off mute.
Oh, right. That she did mention.
Okay, Jessica.
Haha, that's me. Okay, let's go for physical penalties, 500.
Oh.
The jammer approaches the tripod, gets very low, and charges the tripod, leading with their head. Their helmet hits the blockers, causing them to lose position. Blocking with the head.
Right.
Well said.
You shouldn't do that. Not safe for anybody.
That is not safe.
Not even for yourself.
No, sir.
Let's see. A Yari. Sage.
Awesome sauce. Okay. Let's go with procedural penalties, 100.
Oh.
True or false? If you are awarded a penalty, you may skate through the center infield of the track to get to the penalty box.
Oh,
I
you
feel
have
like
such a good voice.
false. Thank you. That is why I also speak for my organization. Okay. Is it false? Woohoo! Instinct. Okay. False. Skaters may not skate. Okay. Sorry.
Like, just never do it. And the same thing is true at the end of the jam when you return to your bench. We don't want to skate through the infield. You just shouldn't be in there. It's not for you. That's the refs' world. That's their world. And we should try to like do our best to stay out of there. All right. I feel like everyone has gone, so we might have. Has everyone gone at least once? I think so.
I believe so. And Sabrina wasn't able to in terms of the speaking thing. So I think that's everybody. Do we want to kind of start back up and try to get through some 400s at least?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, was I the last one to go? No, there was somebody else. It was Sage. Sage, you pick.
Quads.
Hi.
Let's do physical penalties for 400. A blocker and jammer are playing 1v1. The blocker is backwards, stopping the jammer with their chest. The backwards blocker takes 2 steps toward the jammer, pushing them backwards. What penalty should be giving the blocker? So Yari, this is going back to what we were talking about in the chat. This is the directional.
Yep.
This is my other favorite penalty that I've made multiple times.
Gang. All right.
Same.
Who do I pick now?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Malone.
Okay. Let's do jammer for 2.
Okay.
What part of the jammer's body needs to pass an opposing skater in order to earn a point?
Oh, that's really good.
When I was taking the test, I was like, I feel like feet is a little too small, but the whole body doesn't necessarily need to happen. So I'm gonna go with the hips.
Good
The
call.
hips don't lie, girl.
Hips never lie. All right.
Yep.
So next, I'm gonna go with Chic Chics.
I heard cheeks.
Did you
Oh,
say
Chica, sorry.
Chica? I'm
Yep,
sorry.
Yeah,
that's what I
She
said. I was
got
like,
really
who is
excited, and
she?
I'm like, did she say
I
chic
said
chic?
cheeks.
Chic
Yeah.
Okay,
chic.
it is what I
Got
heard.
it.
Okay. All right, hold on, because I was totally redoing my tests. Got too many wrong. It's the whistles. I didn't know the whistle ones.
Ah, the whistles.
Super important.
I knew the dee 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 dee, and I'm like, okay, I can count that one. But the other one, I'm like, I have absolutely no idea.
Was it the lead jam one?
The lead jammer one, it was two. I was like two or three. I put three. So I'm redoing my test. I also didn't remember because we had a conversation about when the two jammers go into the penalty box. And was it then before they used to both get released? Or were we discussing that at one point? I think in one of the derby schools.
If they sat at the same time, they would be released at the same time. But let's
If
say
it's one after the other, the second one
right. So if I'm in the
sits.
box and I'm sitting there and I've been here for 20 seconds, another jammer comes and sits, I'm released, and they serve the amount of time that I serve. So they would sit for 20
That's
seconds.
what it was. Yeah. So a lot of my ones are I picked like, it's one of these two. Picked the wrong one.
That one tripped me up too, actually.
I was
I
like,
was
crap.
What
I know there's
is
an
it?
instance where there's both gets released, and I'm pretty sure there's an instance when they come out, but I couldn't remember. Okay. We'll do jammer for 400.
I'll laugh if it's that question.
The lead jammer takes off their helmet cover because they didn't realize they're I got that one wrong. Because they didn't realize they're a lead. They quickly put the helmet cover back on. Are they still lead jammer? No. No lead jammer anymore. You got rid of your power.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that they could be like, oh no. I legit thought that they could still be lead because they're like, no one else touched it, only I did. But nope.
Nope.
Come off and you're still lead is if it's like falls off accidentally, like as a course of gameplay. You know sometimes they get like bunched up and then they fall off. That you can put it back on. That used to actually not be the rule if I remember correctly. But no, you have to, and that's why that double whistle is so important, right? Like that tweet, because it's one of the things that lets you know, like I am lead.
On the
in this guy. But after the first lap, you're gonna lose the pointy arm. You might have them throwing points, but they might not be pointing at you anymore. Yeah, some of them do point the whole time, but they're actually not compelled to point the entire time. Cool. All right.
All right, Shika, who you gonna choose?
Let's go with hell.
Let's do miscellaneous for 400.
Oh.
When you are awarded a penalty, what three things does an official say to you?
You should know that.
Color, number, and penalty. Is that the right order though?
That is the right order, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Nice.
All right, I'm gonna go with la 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 la.
I was gonna say, and they say your number by individual digits.
Yeah, 786. Sabrina. Oh no, that's right. Sabrina is in somewhere.
He's listening. Yes.
Yes. Sorry about that.
All good.
La la la. Let's go with Sasha.
Sasha Fierce.
Hey, let's do another pack definition for 200. The engagement zone extends forward and backward from us.
We just said this earlier too.
20 feet.
Yes.
That's right.
Awesome.
Woo.
Woohoo!
Let's see.
We got Elise. What else we got that hasn't gone? Dread.
Quiet.
Yeah, let's do Elise.
Thanks.
Anytime.
All right. It's like payback. Let's go with um, I guess pack definition 300.
All right.
If a no pack is called, who's responsible for reforming the pack?
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
God. No pack
Is
I say it every practice.
It's really important though.
You know this. Remember when I said it? What does the referee
How would
call
I?
first?
It's the other elites,
It's
Ellie.
me.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Elise. Oh, darn, Elise. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
There is
Okay, but
only
what was it
one
that you would
elite
always
now.
tell her? And like, what was it that you always told her though?
I don't want to
Yeah.
be an enabler. I don't want to be an enabler.
Who's responsible if a no pack is called? I don't even know what that. The jammer?
I know.
I have no idea.
You want to set up in the scenario so we could see that happen?
Yeah. So I don't know. These guys are up here. Number 2 is here. Number 1 is here. And you see how there's like, I don't know, like 12 feet between them about. This jammer's up here doing something. And this ref is like, no pack. What happens now? Or who's responsible?
You want to dial a friend, Elise? You can dial a friend.
Yeah. Okay, Shakes. I'm dialing you. Go for it.
Right. So if there's 12 feet, that means, we need to stay how many feet? We talked about this earlier, right? We need to stay within 10, right? So both teams are responsible for ensuring that we stay within that 10 feet, right? So the pack in the front would send somebody either back or they stop, and then the pack in the back would either move up or send someone off to go and be that bridge, right? That person to maintain that 10 feet of distance.
That's exactly right.
I have a question. One person from each team, or it just doesn't matter what team they're from?
Yeah, go ahead, Zerk.
Or whomever. I say that's a really good question, because what happens in this scenario is people play chicken, right? Because they're waiting for someone else to like make a move. And what you don't want to do is play chicken, because that failure to reform can be called on like anybody. Like the first person the ref sees, who's probably going to be like this person or this person because they're closer and they can see your numbers. I see like at least like, yep, that's what I would do. Failure to reform, because it's everyone's responsibility. If you were in the backpack, you have a responsibility to go forward, at least one person. If you were in the front pack, you never are compelled to skate backwards, but you do have to stop. And if you were there's no pack, you shouldn't be blocking, right? So it would be smart to probably drop somebody, but somebody somewhere has to make a move, or someone somewhere is going to get a penalty. It's a gamble if you don't make a move, because it's going to be kind of random, right? The other benefit to like reforming quickly is if there is no pack, again, technically you should not be blocking that jammer. You can continue doing your business, right, when the pack is reformed. So like in this scenario that I put here, I feel like it would probably be a combination, like, and this isn't a hard answer. Let's push them back a little bit further. Well, they're all the way back here now. Is I feel like it would probably maybe be someone up here that drifted forward, because yeah, it could be this person, or this person could drop. It could be either scenario. Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll typically see the pack in the back send one up, and the pack in the front, kind of see and look and make sure that they're maintaining those 10 feet.
Yeah, so you might see this jammer like push up, and then this person just hangs behind. Could be what would happen.
Mm-hmm. May I chime in as a referee perspective on this one too, Ms. Zerk?
Yes, yes.
Just so everyone is aware, everything Ms. Zerk said and Shakes just said is correct. But in a referee's perspective, have in mind there are some referees that don't even give you a second. Some referees will give you the most 3 seconds, but it all depends on the referee. So have in mind, like Ms. Zerk said, try to reform the pack as quickly. The minute you basically listen to the ref, when he or she says no pack, someone should be listening at all times, because if that referee wants to, they can call the nearest opposing skater next to that referee. Like Ms. Zerk said, it could be anybody. Whoever I see first close to me, I'm gonna call you out on and say that's a failure to reform on 786, color 786. Failure to reform, blah 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 blah. So you got to form before 3 seconds, to be honest, like on the go. That's all.
No, it's so true. And when you're the one to get that failure to reform, it is so frustrating. But like you have to tell yourself, like, I had every opportunity to make a move just like everybody else did, and I did not. Yeah. Like when I officiate, which is rarely, it's exactly what Edley said. It's like the first person I see is like, who's gonna get it? Yeah.
And the good thing is, when whoever reforms, let this be an incentive. You gave your person the opportunity to continue hitting or blocking that jammer. So that's an incentive. FYI.
I agree. It's almost 9. Do we
Yeah.
want more?
Yeah, I think maybe one more and then we
Yeah.
call it, yeah.
Oh, okay. So, let's see. All right, let's go with Dread.
Woohoo.
No dread.
Going once. There she is. Okay.
I had to run away for a sec. Let's do procedural penalties for 400.
Yeah.
At the start of a jam, blockers must line up between the jam line and the pivot line. If a blocker starts with their skate behind the jam line, it's called a blank, and the skater must yield their position momentarily until the other blockers have passed them. After that, they continue to play. The answer is false start.
Good job.
Woohoo.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, I think the important takeaway for this one is that the false start isn't a penalty. It is a warning, and that your action afterward would be the one to lead to a penalty or not, right? So what you do want to do is yield your position momentarily to allow the other people to pass you. And then if you don't do that, that's when you get a penalty. At least,
Real quick.
or is there, do you guys know what the penalty is? I don't even know, like a false start, like if you don't yield.
I don't know, honestly.
Is it legal procedure?
Could be.
I think it was.
Yes,
I think we
illegal.
went over this in one of the last couple practices, right, Ellie?
Yes, ma'am. It's an illegal procedure. And a little secret, guys. You can touch the jammer line, but if your foot is 100% outside the jammer line, is when it's called a false start. But you can touch the middle of the line, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
As a jammer, yes.
Just FYI.
So like this pivot, I kind of move them so like they're behind the line. This is what we're talking about, is we cannot be behind, or we can be on the line to Edley's point, but we cannot be behind the line.
Yes.
So let's say 5 seconds, tweet, the jam starts. It's going to be black pivot, false start. All I do is stand here until everyone has passed me. I like to put my arms up like I heard you. Totally cool.
And they both pooped in unison.
My friends. This is the only time that I can really think of that you will hear color, number, and other words where you do not need to go to the box. Sometimes when people get this and they're new, they go to the box, which is not a bad instinct. And what will happen is if you go to the box, they'll just send you back on the track, I think is pretty much what will happen. But yes, that is a false start. And we can watch our friends' wheels too. Like we should look at our friends and be like, yo, you gotta bring your foot back, buddy. We learned so many rules today, everybody.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Circle, for putting the game together and all of that stuff. I know it takes a little bit of time. But we can use this again if we need to. And I don't know, Zerk, are you able to share the game? Like if people wanted to play it on their own kind of thing? Okay, cool. Another different way to kind of play around with the rules.
But it makes it more fun.
It's always more fun with friends.
It's more fun. I can put this and the nerds in the general chat for the Gold Coast one that I have control.
Yeah, and I'll share it with our folks. The recording will probably take a data process because compression and all that, but then I'll make sure that that's up as well. Okay, so I'm going to